Morning.
I am very grateful to be here, and I want to acknowledge before we go into our meditation that it takes great courage to be here together today. It is courage of heart, courage of mind, and I'm very grateful for your courage. Just in the aftermath and continuing events of COVID, I am very grateful for all of our courage to be here. So I am Reverend Montclair, and we're going to do a little meditation here. So get comfortable in your body. Take a deep breath. Center in your heart. Close your eyes. Oh, autumn. Moment of change. Breathe in. Breathe out. Period of transformation. I feel you. Breathe in. Hold. Your energy is in the air. Breathe out. I can sense it all around me. Breathe in. Hold. I can see it in nature. Breathe out. I can feel it inside of me. Breathe in. Breathe out. The leaves are turning. Breathe in. Breathe out. The trees ready for sleep. Breathe in. Hold. Nature opens to death. Breathe out. And rebirth. Breathe in. Breathe out. So am I. Breathe in. Breathe out. Ready for this change. Breathe in. Hold. For this circular transition. Breathe out. The flow of life's transformation. Breathe in. Breathe out. The light and the dark. Breathe in. Hold. I am ready to accept everything. Breathe out. To turn inward and find hidden gifts there. Breathe in. And breathe out. I am in tune with the one constant of life. Breathe in, hold, and the constant is change. Breathe out. Breathe in, the change. Breathe out, the change. Be at peace. Open your eyes. Maya's going to help me light the shower. Always happy to have help. We'd like, in a moment. That's okay. We'd light our flaming showers to illuminate the world we seek. In the search for truth, may we be just. In the search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. Thank you, Maya. And thank you for your introduction as well. Opening words from James Baldwin, author and educator. He says, perhaps the whole root of our trouble, the human trouble, is that we will sacrifice all the beauty of our lives. We'll imprison ourselves in totems, taboos, crosses, blood sacrifices, steeples, mosques, races, armies, flags, nations, in order to deny the fact of death, which is the only fact we have. It seems to me that one ought to rejoice in the fact of death. ought to decide, indeed to earn one's death by confronting with passion the conundrums of life. One is responsible to life. It is the small beacon in that terrifying darkness from which we come and to which we shall return. One must negotiate this passage as nobly as possible for the sake of those who are coming after. Song for Gathering. So I'm here today to speak on the subject of a day of respect and the autumnal equinox. And I will begin with a story. Before moving to New Mexico, I became aware that commenting on the light was a thing. A recurring theme in conversations about New Mexico with random, unrelated people that I spoke to. I love the light in New Mexico was a common statement I had heard from mouths of artists, photographers, and tourists alike. I had been to New Mexico, even fell in love with it and vowed to move here someday. Yet I still had no idea what they were talking about. It wasn't as if light in New Mexico was all sparkly or something. I would have noticed that. I tend to consider myself observant, especially of nature, so I was mystified. How could I have missed it? It wasn't until I moved here that I realized what people were talking about. It's not just the light that has everyone in trance. It is also the shadow. One without the other would not be so impressive nor remarkable. I find it revealing that most of us only focus on the light, completely missing out on the complementary relationship that reveals, by contrast, New Mexico's storied light. It is only when the shadows lay across the crevices of the mountains at dawn and dusk that we can discern their depth. It is a cultural phenomenon in our patriarchal, capitalistic society that we are taught to fear and even ignore the shadow, the hidden, the unknown, our dreams and nightmares, the darkness. Death is associated with it. So is the sentiment. With our connection to the moon, feelings, intuition, and the great mystery of life itself. With all of our mastery of science and psychology, we have not conquered it. As much as we have tried, we have succeeded in ignoring it and filling it with all of the aspects of ourselves that we disown, good and evil both. If we approach the shadow with respect, rather than flee it, we open ourselves to the gifts and truths the shadow has to offer. To do this, we need to be in a state of receptivity, openness, curiosity, patience, and trust. It is the same state we access for our creativity to flow. Engaging a deep listening with our whole being, our bodies, mind, and spirit, as well as our past history and first story, our precarious present, and our as yet to unfold future. Our attachment to our need to know is so strong, we are more willing to co-create a feared, predictable disaster than participate in co-creating the aversion of it by tapping into our creative capacity. To be willing to not know opens us up to what we have not yet imagined. The infinite possibilities of a possible positive future for our species and planet. However, our fear of death, as James Baldwin spoke of, is so strong, we'd rather take everyone and everything with us so as not to have to face it alone. It is countercultural to do this shadow work, and doing it prevents us from creating out of fear. If we are committed to our health, our well-being, even our very survival, it is the work we must do. In 4 days, on the 22nd, the autumnal equinox arrives where daytime light is equal to nighttime darkness. The light and shadow in perfect balance. It is also the time for the harvest, a time of celebration. And it is a time of year where we must accept that summer is over and time has come to be diligent in preparing for winter. Generations upon generations of humankind have observed the autumnal equinox with harvest, feasts, wine, fire, the burning of effigies of the season's past chats, and with it, that which needs ending, burning away in our own lives. And so we may begin the new year fresh. For in many pagan traditions, and in the Jewish faith, this is the beginning of the new cycle of life. For one has just ended, and we begin again, followed closely by a time of rest, reflection, integration, and intimacy, as we hunker down for winter with those we love, or at least one hopes, with those we can coexist with amicably. Today, September 18th, was designated in 2008 as National Day of Respect. Has anyone heard of a National Day of Respect?
No.
Neither had I. It was proposed by the Family Violence Prevention Fund, now known as Futures Without Violence. The intention was to raise awareness of the often hidden issue of domestic and dating violence, with a goal of ending such violence. We may be more aware of these issues today, but with young gun-toting males targeting school children and teachers having become common occurrences in our society today, I am not sure how much progress we have made towards eradicating violence. It seems to me the pendulum has swung as far as it can swing into patriarchy, hypermasculinity, and violence, a world envisioned and created several thousand years ago in reaction to the centuries prior to the invention of Christianity, where goddess worship was the norm. The divine was feminine, powerful, the life-giving creator. She birthed the world and all of humanity. Once men discovered, I imagine, they had something to do with conception and the creation of a child, their disillusion and sense of betrayal went so deep, men created a male god in their own image, exalting themselves as creators, revering only sons and not the daughter, the father and not the mother. Everything designated feminine was then denigrated. Women became property, as did the earth. Temples to the goddess were, in fact, burned by early Christian zealots, and their priestesses and followers murdered or enslaved. Wise women healers, by the thousands, were accused of witchcraft and were tortured and burned at the stake by Christians. These so-called witches were in practice midwives and herbalists, knowledgeable of which plants were medicine and which were poison, including which plants could induce abortion, because they knew, as all women do, sometimes it is not wise to bring a child into the world if one does not have what is needed to care for it and oneself in strength of body or peaceful community. When men rejected the feminine so wholeheartedly, they rejected creation itself. Women became the other, alien, the enemy to be feared and controlled. And the earth with her feminine qualities was also rejected, as were the laws of nature and the feminine values of love and care. Instead, domination, destruction, conquering, ego glory, and power and control over others was venerated. I don't have my glasses today. Some of these words are difficult to read.
You want to come?
No, it's okay. Thank you. I'm just going to stand back. In doing so, men rejected large parts of themselves, living in the head more often than the heart. We are all both masculine and feminine, part of this earth and part of each other. Every living thing on the face of the earth points to the folly of calling God solely male or solely female. For everything that exists here on earth has its equal in its opposite sex. Where plant or other creature does not have an opposite sex, then it has both within. Think of the lowly worm. For thousands of years, this reactionary masculine culture is still desperately trying to justify itself and its power over others, even other men, especially young men who are used as fodder in their wars of the elders' creation to reduce competition to their own power and wealth and their choice of young women for mates and servants. Because the soul is always trying to balance itself, to replace or compensate for those missing and cast off aspects of self. David Suzuki, Canadian scientist, broadcaster, and environmental activist, says, "The way we see the world shapes the way we treat it. If a mountain is a deity, not a pile of ore. If a forest is a sacred grove, not timber. If other species are biological kin, not resources. Or if the planet is our mother, not an opportunity, then we will treat each other with greater respect. This is the challenge, to look at the world from a different, and I add here, holistic perspective." So here, with the mention of mother, we may get curious about why so many men do not respect women. Is it because their fathers did not? Is it also because even their mothers did not respect themselves? Is it because of a centuries-old resentment that men still feel after centuries of goddess worship? Or is it because their mothers did not protect them from their angry and brutish fathers? Many women have been fighting the male-imposed dominance for generations, with some success and some apparent setbacks even today. Anna Quindlen, author, journalist, columnist, mother, and feminist, spoke at the Women's Commission for Refugee Women and Children. Don't know what year, I wasn't able to find that. She remarked about women's fight for equality. She said, "Was the point of this great social revolution to have a corner office, stat retainers, and retirement accounts? Did we want the right to lead imitation men's lives? Or did we really want something that we haven't quite gotten yet? The ability to put our grand stamp on the ethos of the entire world. We're at a moment of synthesis, of balance, a middle ground, and that is the point at which we realize that work, influence, even power, with no countervailing forces, no intimacy, no family, no sense of connection to others, is for many of us no kind of life at all." Eckhart Tolle says, "There is hope in truth." He says, "The transformation of human consciousness is no longer a luxury available to only a few isolated individuals, but a necessity if humankind is not to destroy itself. At the present time, the dysfunction of the old consciousness and the arising of the new are both accelerating. Paradoxically, things are getting better and worse at the same time, although the worst is more apparent because it makes so much noise." Eckhart Tolle is a theologian. To harken back to my earlier sermon on Jean Ruiz's 4 agreements and his concept of impeccability with one's words and thoughts, I will read this poem I commissioned for the small sum of $3, all the cash I had left on me when I encountered David Sage, the poet in residence, at the Cuesta Farmers Market 2 weeks ago. I asked him if he would take on the challenge to write a $3 poem to heal the world. He did. He assured me I also got a very good deal. This is what he wrote. I promised him I would read it to you today. Climate cocoon on top of the world's smallest coconut tree. Giving life, taking it in stride, for the small things count. And this poem will save the world. If a poem could take action, let this one speak. Through the hollow and out the other side of the woods, deep darkness surrounds, but in the in-between I expound and dream the world I want to witness. And then he wrote it upside down. Falling from the sky, I am held safe and sure of the power in the word. Thank you, David Sage. So at this midpoint, between the light and shadow, between the masculine and feminine, between creation and destruction, between the head and the heart, and between respect and disrespect, let us find the balance within ourselves. By appreciating the complementary nature even in our own polar opposites. We want something, but we fear it. We have talents, but we don't use them. We have dreams, but we ignore them. We want to be perfect, though perfection is not attainable. We have feelings, but we hide them or mask them. We have faults, but deny them. We have a heart, but we live in our minds. Respect, acceptance, presence, love, and appreciation, as well as forgiveness. Let these be the keys to our balance. A poem by Elise Stewart speaks to this between time, the place between light and dark. The trapeze swings out, and you have to let go. In between can be a hard place, meant to teach you to trust in something more than your own mind. When your hands slip from the bar, do you see the one whose wrists you can grasp flying towards you in the night? The heart yearns to soar, but you can't remember how to be free. Always hanging on so tight, afraid of the ride, thrilling, risky, a little dangerous. A gift lies buried beneath it all. Unwrap yourself from all you know. Let go and rise into the air, into the deathless, exhilarating moment of surrender where everything is all right. Where love surrounds you, holds you, and a net woven blue light as wide as your willingness to forgive waits with infinite patience. So forgiveness, I'm going to remind us all, is not just for the other, it is also for the self. In Light and Light and Dark, I am reading a poem called Darkness, or Immolation of One's Soul. I wrote it for a friend in '97, a male friend. I saw the light retreat from his eyes, steadily moving, sinking inward, seeking its cover. A dark, mysterious, cavernous place where there is no light, no hope, no peace, no love, and no music. For no life comes to this secret place where wounds are licked till the skin is raw, till the licking becomes the thing that wounds, till the wound is now self-inflicted. There. Now I cannot be hurt by anyone. I am not the victim. I have the power to wound myself so deeply that I cannot feel the pain, the joy, the purpose of this life. I will be free from this life, safe, maybe even comfortable, if I stay here long enough. I'm okay. Maybe I like it here. Only I don't remember, can't recall. Who is this I? Who is this me? What is this place? Like a whole, unlike a home, like a safe where money is kept but never spent, never invested or enjoyed or given away. It is dark but safe, quiet but not silent, a buzzing, a ringing, a little voice screaming from inside. But I choose not to hear, not to listen, should be happy, so safe, so sure, should be doing something, doing so much, not enough, need more to keep that voice shut up inside. I should, not I could, is my mantra, my message, my darkness, my faith. Before I saw the light retreat from his eyes, I saw joy, I saw hope, I saw life, love. I saw the I in those eyes, eyes that inspire, enlighten, engage. I saw the light before it slipped away. Darkness, remember, with every new moon, a full one follows, reflecting the sun, the light of day from half the world away. I saw the light entreat from his eyes. Now, Maya will help us with the sharing of responsibility.
At each service, we're invited to make an investment in this organization by fulfilling our pledges and making additional donations. It's an opportunity to invest in what we value and support our mission to be an illuminating beacon and an active force in house. Thank you, Joy and Emily, and thanks to you.
She's done. Yeah. Okay, so as not to leave us on a note of darkness, I have our closing words, Joy, by Donna Ashworth, author and poet from England. Joy does not arrive with fanfare on a red carpet strewn with flowers of a perfect life. Joy sneaks in as you pour a cup of coffee, watching the sun hit your favorite tree just right. And you usher joy away because you are not ready for it. Your house is not as it must be for such a distinguished guest. But joy cares nothing for your messy home, or your bank balance, or your waistline. Joy is supposed to slither through the cracks of your imperfect life. That's how joy works. You cannot invite her. You can only be ready when she is here. And hug her with meaning, because in this very moment,